What's up? Welcome back. Today we're talking tail spinners, one of my favorite baits, especially this time of year. Really cold weather, they work awesome. I'll run you through a bunch of different baits and how I fish them. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. Really appreciate all the new subscribers. Also appreciate all the people that have been with me for a while. I'm going to keep pumping these videos out, talking about bass fishing tackle, techniques, new stuff, all that stuff. But one of my favorite things to fish, especially when it's cold, is a tail spinner. Now I did a video on this almost exactly a year ago, and I wanted to kind of do an update, talk about some different baits that I've been trying because I'm a huge tail spinner fan. I buy them all the time. I try all these different ones. I got a bunch of different ones. I'm going to run you through some of them, and then how I fish them, where I fish them, and why they work so well. So let's do it right now. So a tail spinner's been around for a long time. You know, you think of the Little George. I mean, that's been around forever and ever. That's the first tail spinner I ever used. And they're great for catching schooling fish, you know, casting out, reeling. But the way that I fish them, that bait is not very good for it because if you're familiar with it, it's got a bait and then it's got a wire and the blade spins around it, which is great for just casting and reeling. What I'm talking about here is casting out a bait, letting it fall to the bottom, lifting it and dropping it, getting that vibration, almost like a blade bait. That's when they really shine for me. They work great in cold weather. I've caught some huge smallmouth on this. Both late fall and early spring, but they are just something that works really, really good. And not just for smallmouth either. They perfectly imitate a dying bait fish, which is what makes them so good. You get that vibration, you get that you trigger fish that aren't that reactive or that aggressive, but they also work for fish that are aggressive. So they're really good bait overall for any condition, especially, again, I can't say this enough, when the water's cold. And when I'm talking cold, I'm talking in the 40s or even lower. I mean, but really they shine in that 40 to 50 range. That's where I've had most of my success, both in Washington State and here in Texas. Doesn't get that cold that often in Texas. Washington State, different story. But the tail spinner is a killer bait for it. Now you can fish it on bait cast or spinning. I actually prefer spinning gear, a little bit heavier spinning rod, a medium or medium heavy. And the reason primarily is I think it's easier to work the bait, but it's also easier to manage your line with spinning tackle when it's really, really cold. If you think about it, when the water's 40, the air is going to be what, like 30s or 40s or less, obviously. So it's pretty cold. So it's a little bit harder to cast a bait caster. Spinning tackle, just flip over that bail, cast it out there. So I really like spinning. It's kind of a regional thing. It's up to you. But braid to fluorocarbon, basically any setup that you use for shaky heads, things like that, will work for this. And they cast really far on spinning, which is awesome. The other thing is they fall really quickly. Another reason I like spinning is you can just flip that bail and let them fall versus having to hit the thumb bar and then feeding line out to get it to the bottom. Again, it's all personal preference, but that just makes sense to me. And where I fish them kind of depends where the fish are. You're looking at your electronics. They work great with forward-facing sonar. You don't have to have it, obviously. I mean, I've been doing this for years before forward-facing sonar, so it's not required. But just your typical stuff where fish are going to be, deep flats, deep points, bluff walls, anywhere you find shad, a tail spinner is perfect. So that's kind of just the basics of when, where, and why I fish a tail spinner. But I'm going to run you through a few different ones. These are from all different brands. Tell you kind of some pros and cons from each of them. Some I don't use as much, but some I use all the time. So I'm going to run you through a few. The first one is probably my favorite, so that's why I'm going to talk about this, but this is the Jackall Daracoup. It's not cheap. I think it's about 12 bucks or something for this little guy, and you are going to lose them, so be aware of that. You're going to be snagging into the bottom because you're trying to hit the bottom, so unfortunately you do lose them, but it does only have one hook and it's a fairly small hook, so you don't hang up as much. But you could also bend that hook out as well. Again, better than losing a $12 bait. Just bending that treble hook back or putting a new treble on there. But the reason I like this one is, it's got great colors. I mean, this is one of my favorites. There's a really good bluegill color as well. But they have the spinner on there, and then there's like a little silicone thing on here over the connection right there. So that actually keeps the blade or the swivel in place, which really helps with the thumping action. They come in a lot of sizes. I believe it's a quarter up to a full ounce. Half ounce is my favorite, but they're really, really a good tail spinner that thumps like crazy and catches a lot of fish. Another one I really like that's a lot cheaper is the Lunker Hunt Big Eye Spin right here. Caught tons of fish on this one. I have actually modified this with a little bit bigger blade and an extra swivel just to get it even more thumping action. That extra swivel does make it hang up once in a while, but it's not as bad as you would think. So you can actually do that with just about anything, get a really good swivel, you can extend it, but like I said, you are gonna foul it up a little more, but you're gonna get a lot more of that thumping action on there. Just going up a size on the blade, but this thing has been really good, and I think these are about half as much as the Daracoup. Two more that I use, this is one from Japan. This is kind of crazy, I'm gonna show you that a little closer, but it's got this guard on the front of it. I can't remember the name of it, I think it's a Tiemco, but it's got that on there to help kind of prevent some of the snags. It's kind of unique weed guard. It's a metal, like solid metal bar, but as you're lifting it and dropping it, it doesn't seem to hang up as much. I also like this, it's got a little clip on there so you can easily switch out your hooks. You just pull this thing out. And look, I took that hook off of there. So that's pretty cool. If your hook gets dull or you want to change to a smaller or bigger hook or different brand, you can do it really easily. Just clip it in there. So I haven't found these in America, but I did find them from Japan. But it's pretty cool if you want something a little bit different. I'm almost positive this is Tiemco. It's called, it says Interblade on it, or Feather Blade or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but that's a good one. And this is the Savage Gear. This one's a really, really bright color. It looks like a little goldfish, but this one catches them too. Now the next two are a little bit different because these aren't really metal per se. These are kind of almost like a crankbait body. This is the 6th Sense and then the Shimano. But the thing about these is they have a lot smaller blades. You can see that, especially compared to the body. So they're not gonna thump as hard, but you still get that subtle thumping action and that flash from there. So these are a couple different options that do catch fish. They are a lot bigger for size, so that is a benefit as well. You know, if you're trying to appeal to fish that are eating bigger bait fish, you know, you may want to try something like this. This is the 6th Sense, and then this is the Shimano BT Spin as well. So a little bit different look, but same concept. There's also a lot of good ones out there that are homemade or, you know, kind of regional. You know, these are a couple of them that I use. And this one actually, I caught a 7-pound smallmouth on this on Lake Erie. It was a really big one. I'll show you the picture of that right now, but I caught this guy on that. That was in May, early May. It's a lot bigger profile, a lot heavier. It's just a solid chunk of lead, big blade on the back of it, but they come in a lot of other sizes as well. But the key with all these is getting that blade to spin and thump. That is key with these baits. Tail spinners are something that are so good. Again, I can't say it enough. Cold weather, these are such good baits. They work, they catch fish in all depths, imitate those dying bait fish, and they work. So if you haven't tried a tail spinner, try it out. I'm gonna put links to all these baits. We're available at Tackle Warehouse. They are affiliate links. Doesn't change anything on your end, but it does help the channel. Thanks for watching. Go throw some tail spinners this winter.